morning, everybody. It is November 16th. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosin.
Wow. Good morning, Jane. Yeah, Andrew Plank here with the Vibe Real Estate Group and with Royal LePage. And first time I've ever noticed this. We've been doing the show like for how long? We celebrated our 100th show some months ago. But our intro music, first time I've ever really noticed, it sounds like there's somebody galloping in the background. Dun, 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 dun. Listen for it next time. Super fun. Oh my God. Okay, what are we doing?
Okay, so we're here with the Victoria Real Estate Show. We're going to be talking about the missing middle today. And this is just based on some legislation that came out at the beginning of November. But first, let's just go over our stats. Andrew, take it away.
Away I will take it. So today is November 16th, as Jean said, and we had in the last week 186 properties go live on MLS in Victoria. 78 properties went pending from the pool of properties available. 113 prices decreased, and 4 prices increased. 3 properties came back to market. 95 properties sold, and 56 expired unsold, and 7 were withdrawn. So when we look at this list, we look at what's coming in, what's going out, how it's going out, how it's coming in, and then what people are doing, like the price decreases and increases, and try to figure out what it tells us about the future. And one of the things we do is look also at the past year. So let's look at that. November 9th, a week ago, we had way more listings coming on, 245 versus 186. More properties went pending, 92 versus the 78. 144 price decreases, so quite a few decreases. 6 increases, 9 back on market, 73 sold, 62 expired, and 4 withdrawn. Jane, what would you take from all this?
So I look at this all the time, and I always say real estate's kind of like being on a pulse. So if you turn this sideways, you'll see like this up and down motion going on. We are seeing a definite decrease in the number of listings. The new listings over the past few weeks have been very consistent. So we're down on that. I am finding it a bit lighter in terms of viewings.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's a great time to go out and look at properties because there aren't other people looking. So
you and your husband bought a number of your investment properties during this time of year. And it's true, at this time of year, if you're listing your home, it's because you need to sell or want to sell. Yeah. There's some motivation there.
Or you're playing the numbers.
You're playing the numbers. But here we are November 16th, and if you put your property on market and average days on market, what is average days on market? It's like 3 months now.
For single family homes.
Yeah.
It's
getting up there. But point is you're going to be probably on market over the winter, the holidays, the dark times, and not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants to have their home on market throughout that time. So they will sometimes, once we get closer and closer to December, which we're not too far from, as we all know, after Halloween, all the Christmas stuff comes out. We'll probably see some people who are deciding to wait till the new year. But as Jane said, it's never a bad time to be looking, and it's never a bad time truly to be selling, because there could be the buyer out there for you.
So average days on market was 42 for single family homes in Victoria, like the city of Victoria. The median was 35.
Okay, so that's not bad. It's not bad.
That's pretty fast. We're still in a buyer's market or seller's market. Okay. So for Tuesday, we get the data beginning of every week, and we had a holiday this past Monday. Net unconditional sales over that week were up to November 14th, were 152. That's compared to 384 for last year, when we thought last year was slow, by the way. Mm-hmm. New listings were at 429 as of Tuesday for the whole month of November, compared to 785 for the month of November in 2022, and our total listings is at 2,743, and that's up over last year where it was 2,111. So this is also reflecting, I guess the sales look a little higher net unconditional sales, and new listings were steady, but not crazy.
Yeah, new listings are up over last week as well, but again, could have been because of the holiday weekend last week as well.
Yeah. All right, so
Um,
let's get to the meat of our presentation.
meat of this sandwich. Okay.
Okay, so the BC government made an announcement on November 2nd, and I'm going to put the let me
Put a
just
link
get
in.
it.
Let's get a link in there.
I'll put the links in because that's the kind of girl I am. And basically, what they were saying is that they're going to be focusing on changing the uh, density of housing in British Columbia. And what they're trying to do is basically make more affordable housing and allowing for infill as well as increased density on different lots. The reason for this is when people now apply for a change in the zoning, they have to look at the official community plan. They see what the sort of political will of the municipality is.
Yeah.
Then they have to apply to increase the density to meet the official community plan or change the zoning. And this process can take a long time. And so what happens is when a seller has a property up for sale, they have a sign on the lawn and it says there's a rezoning application in process, and people then have the opportunity to go to the municipality and discuss it. And then there's no guarantee that it's going to go
Yeah.
through.
It's a long,
That's
drawn out process. There's no guarantees. There's not between municipalities. There's different rules and different rules of engagement, so you never know what you're going to get. Some municipalities, as you know, when we first got licensed, were very development friendly, and you could pretty much ram any development through you proposed, and other municipalities was pretty much impossible to get anything done. What the province is doing is taking a broad brush and just saying, okay, all municipalities have to fall under the same rules. And they're really trying to do here is, in the past, what we've found is that we have this population of single family homes in neighborhoods that give us the single family home kind of, not exactly urban sprawl, but just a lot of that type of housing. And then we get the condo, high density downtown condo development. And what tends to be missing, and this is why they call it this missing middle, is these middle ground developments that are townhouses, higher density triplexes, fourplexes, homes with multiple suites. And what they're trying to do here, because we do have a housing crisis, is help developers and homeowners to encourage them to make properties that are going to fit more people into them without it creating either high-rise condos or just more standard housing that nobody can afford.
right. So if you've ever been to a place like Hong Kong, it's a million high-rise condos, and it's you ever see the movie Blade Runner?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it's like when you go into the airport. You're like flying in between condos, and you can see in everybody else's room, and there's like you can look out the window and watch people. It's very
Right.
weird. And so they don't want that kind of blocky type of development. They're looking for something that works with what we have. And I'm thinking of communities like Oak Bay, which haven't had any development in a long time.
Yeah.
And so
And
this is a way for people to utilize their property and actually have some capital gains in their own property that they currently reside in.
And that is a key word, community. When you have high-rise condo buildings, you tend to limit what you can get for community. People are in their little boxes, in their own little rooms. When you get when you get housing, more of a sprawled housing kind of setup, you can still have community, but it's a different type. When you get some vibrancy and maybe some mixed use residential, commercial, in these small developments, where you can actually create a little bit more of a vibrant town kind of feel. That's what we'd like to see. Now, the city of Victoria did do this. I mean, this provincial legislation is coming on the heels of Victoria put this forward, it didn't really take off. It didn't really have the impact that they were looking for. There were still too many
No.
rules and not enough opening. But all this is kind of based on what was happening in. Is that you? Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
You can get it if you like. But New Zealand did this a number of years ago, and oh, she is going to do it. I was just joking, but okay, off she goes. Bye bye. New Zealand did this a number of years ago, and apparently it was a really successful program where they instituted this missing middle program, and by doing that, helped to foster some development in those areas that were underutilized. And so I think that the provincial government and the city of Victoria took that model and have tried to apply it here. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of on the fence as to how beneficial and how much this will help. I've seen, at least for the Victoria one, and from going to some programs the real estate board put on where we had some speakers come in and talk about the program. And most of my colleagues who said, I haven't seen any kind of uptick in activity. I haven't seen anybody actually, taking advantage of this. Reasons being, it's still very expensive to do this kind of infill, and there's still, despite the uptick in zoning, you still got setbacks and requirements for what you can build on a certain lot, and so lot size may not be what we want to do.
And also, if you're going to have it as a rental, there's restrictions on the rental potential. Like it's too prescriptive.
Right. So
anybody leeway.
Other than the city of Victoria, most municipalities have bylaws that say if you're going to have a property, residential property, and have multiple units in that residential property, this is outside of strata property, where you own an individual strata unit. But if you own, let's say, a fourplex and you are living in that fourplex, you can rent out the other 3 units. But in Saanich, for example, or Langford, Central Saanich, you can't be owning that fourplex and living in somewhere else and just renting the whole thing out. The bylaws don't allow that.
Yeah. And
so I think it doesn't encourage the same amount of development either from a.
Yeah. It's funny because where I grew up, like now when I look back at where I grew up in Toronto, they had these fourplexes and duplexes. I mean, there was a Duplex Avenue near where I grew up. So it was all duplexes along, and then big condos happening. So there is this proposal to have higher density where there's transit as well, near transit hubs. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but I'm just thinking I don't know if they even consulted with developers. To me, the process just seems like it's so fast.
It's been a lot of there's been a lot of legislation lately that feels like, oh, this sounds like a good idea, let's do this, without actually consultation. And it doesn't have the desired impact or effect that you were kind of thinking, but it looks good on paper, and we'll see. And the thing is, we were just talking about this before the show, this is still fairly new. We haven't seen the results, and definitely if you have a property impacted by this, do your own research and do look into it, because what we're saying here today is just our opinions and based on some basic information we have at this point.
Yes. Caveat. Talk with your lawyer. Okay, so the proposed bill, which is Bill 44, is upfront zoning, which will require local governments to shift their planning process. They're actually going to make them go through and pre-zone the land, which is kind of what an official community plan is. It's an idea, but the zoning doesn't necessarily reflect the OCP. And then they want to streamline the rezoning process so that if it's pre-zoned, people know what they can build there, then they can build. And currently what they have are development cost charges, or DCCs. And what that does is they look at the cost of the project and then they charge based on a percentage for the builder to pay for these, like for some infrastructure.
And the intent here was, folks, like, you've got a single family home on a large lot and you want to, develop that into, let's say it's a fourplex, but the municipality would sure like to see some sidewalks along the front of that street. And they're going to take the cost of those sidewalks and add it into the developer's costs. They're going to have these DCCs that are designed to help promote and fund and pay for these extra developments that happen because you're increasing density. If you can, as you can imagine,
Okay, but
yeah,
this is the way it currently happens. So the DCC is charged, and you're right, and it's for things like that. But what they're going to do now is they're doing an amenity cost charge. So I think they're downloading the cost. So whereas before the extra costs of putting in the things that the municipality used would be collected with the property taxes, now what they're going to do is charge this amenity cost charge. So they'll collect more money up front for the amenities that are required for fire, police, sewer. If you need to have increased access to things like highways and all of that. And so it's shifting the tax from the community to the developer.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. And again, folks, when we're looking at all of this, it's developers that tend to lead this. It's not the single family owners who are saying, I've been living in this house for years now, I want to turn it into a fourplex and I have the money to do that. There usually has to be somebody with the savviness, the experience, the tools and resources to make it happen. So it's going to be on the developers really to see where this goes. And at the end of the day, it has to be profitable for them. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
Right. So they're basing this all on stuff that's happened in New Zealand, but I mean, it's happened elsewhere in the world and it hasn't really done well. So we'll see. But again, it's kind of like, it feels like they've done this, thrown everything up in the air.
Let's see what.
Hey,
Yeah, yeah,
catch those balls.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We will see.
Okay, so the new zoning, the premise is to reduce all the barriers to development. That's a good thing, I think, as long as it's well thought out by the city. But it's all throughout the province in communities that have 5,000 or more people. And so they'll allow 3 to 4 units on lots currently zoned for single family or duplex. And they do in this
This
legislation.
kind of removes the need for that sign we were talking about earlier, where you see that this property is subject to an application for rezoning. It doesn't need to be rezoned. It's not going to go under an application for rezoning because effectively the provincial government has already just upzoned everything. So there's no application process anymore. It's just done. And so that is also intended to get away from NIMBYism. Not in my backyard. You may not like it, but you could now have, a fourplex, fiveplex, some sort of townhouse development just going up around you, because the government has essentially said, we want to encourage this kind of housing, and we're not going to stand in the way of it. So let's just open the lines of business. So there's going to be a little less individual say or community say or municipality say in what's possible.
Right, basically. Right. So I've put in a link to the PowerPoint. And what's funny is I'm reading through the PowerPoint and I'm like, this is it's not kind of it's not factual. It's very opinionated. So I did go to, let me just look here. I did go to the PowerPoint that they have up here, and it's like the government is taking strong and thoughtful action to help deliver tens of thousands and then more homes. For years, outdated zoning. We're proposing to change this restrictive zoning approach and make it easier for people.
Are you referring to the screen? Because I'm not seeing that.
No, it's in the PowerPoint that I've just put the link in. But
I see.
The language that they have in this is all very Let me just look here. It's all very
Raw, raw, raw.
convincing.
Okay.
Convincing.
Oh, sure. I mean, but that's the standard for anything that comes out from a government who's trying to do things that are, any government tends to do things to put in a positive light. But yes,
Yeah.
okay. They're trying to sell, what you were saying is they're trying to sell us on this as a good thing. And we're not saying it's not, but there's a lot of that still remains to be seen. We definitely didn't see it with the City of Victoria's proposal.
Right. So the other thing is that for municipalities, they will have to abide by this as a minimum zoning density. And then they have to expedite this whole process, and they'll have to follow. It's kind of like depreciation reports for condos. They'll have to do these reports, and they'll have to follow what the government is mandating. So that's going to change the focus of all local government over the next few years. So as they come up with this plan,
Right.
and then there's gonna. I remember listening to somebody on the news, one of the local politicians, talking about how all the infrastructure, like they're just totally not thinking about all the infrastructure, although they're downloading it to developers. And we
Right.
saw this happening in Langford.
I was going to say, so let's use Colwood as an example, which doesn't have as robust a sewer system as
Right.
some municipalities. So blanket upzoning may be great, but if you can't support the services, you're not going to be able to build, or you'd have to come up with some other method. I mean, septic fields are getting, septic systems are, there's great technology in making those effective, but ideally you're going to be connecting to sewer. But the infrastructure, whether it's sewer, water, electricity, power grid, all of it, needs to be able to support all of this new development if it was actually to happen. We need a lot of development, folks, because we have people keep having more people keep coming to Canada, and housing values and prices keep going up because it's that whole supply and demand. So if we can build more housing, that is not a bad thing at all. Although
In a thoughtful manner.
in a thoughtful, focused manner, yeah. Or stop having children.
Okay, so here's an overview. Permit secondary suites, permit 3 to 4 units, depending on the size of the lot of traditional single family lots and duplexes. Permit 6 units or on traditional single family lots and duplex lots near frequent transit. And then they'll provide a policy manual with site standards, building designs, create small scale multi-unit homes. More complete housing needs report. So this is at the municipal level, updated community plans and more efficient upfront zoning. They talk about that a lot to deliver more homes faster. I mean, I don't know where we're going to get all the materials. And reducing one-off public hearings for rezonings that slow down housing projects. I mean, I sort of agree with that last part.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, you know what? I thought this was, that looks like the very first house that I saw. I think it's in Vancouver.
Okay.
But I sold my very first place in a building like that on Moss Street.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In Victoria on Moss Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. That looks like there's a development on Pembroke Street that looks like that as well currently, but okay. Anyway, just going down a side road. So,
okay, so the main point of this slide was that you can add an additional secondary suite in all single family duplex residential zones and in all communities. So, and it also says you can do an or additional unit, which is a laneway home. So you can have a suite plus a laneway home. This is just going to change. Like the parking issues are just going to be horrendous.
Yeah, I guess you have to have a laneway. Do again, double check the specific rules in terms of how this relates to you. But as you can imagine, historically, for example, the municipality of Oak Bay has not allowed suites. That's changed, I believe. But now It's just blanket. Anyone is allowed to have a suite, it looks like. Again, double check these rules. So that's all
They-
going to make some changes for people.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is all proposed right now, and we'll look at the timeline that when they expect this all to happen.
Mhm.
And then they'll give you a loan up to $40,000 to do this.
But it looks like then you'd have to rent the secondary suite at below market rates if you take that 40,000. So
Yep. So this is similar to what happened in Victoria, where people didn't go for it.
right, it may just there may not be. It may look good on paper, but it may not have the may not just be the financial incentive for people to do it, or there's disincentives to do it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you have to rent out your house, but you have to not make any money doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what is a small scale multi-unit? It is secondary suites in single family homes or duplexes. And we do see these in Victoria already, and they're not legal or authorized. Detached garden suites or laneway homes, triplexes, townhomes, and houseplexes.
Yeah.
So
this is the missing middle. I mean, this is what they're really referring to, is a lot this primarily. So, and as we've been referring to, the City of Auckland removed single detached zoning, set a bylaw density of 3 units per detached residential lot. So they just essentially upzoned everything. And when we were looking, I tried looking into it a little bit, and it definitely got some positive press. Has it had a really profound impact? I don't believe so, but it still, looks good and does create. I guess what we have to think about and look at anytime we look at any kind of legislation coming in is how it applies over the long term, because right now we may be not seeing as much development based on economy, based on interest rates, or what have you. But that doesn't mean that if things turn around, that this wouldn't spur a whole bunch of additional development, because property prices and the cost of construction, everything has reached that point where everything aligns for that to happen.
Well, so it's interesting when Saanich changed its bylaws last year or earlier this year and was looking at increasing density. I had a house for sale, or had a house. I had a crappy house on a big lot for sale. And we were wondering what the price was going to be for a long time. We were like hesitating. And then this ruling came out, and it's on a busy road. And we're like, boom, list that home. And it's sold in multiple offers. Whereas I think like earlier in the year, it would have been worth maybe just over half of what we got for it. So
rules and regulations and government can really impact property values. We're seeing that with the short-term rental units that are downtown right now. So just these announcements can really raise or lower your values. I want to circle back because I was saying that I hadn't really looked at too much of what specifics of what the New Zealand rulings had, but just to the right in that purple zone says research has shown these changes had led to creation of more than 20,000 additional new homes over 5 years. So what is that? 4,000 a year in Auckland, and rent stabilizing, leading to slower rent increases than the rest of the country.
Right.
So overall, more homes and more affordability.
Right. And unfortunately, I can't find the other comment that I found yesterday that said that in other jurisdictions where they've done this, it hasn't had any impact, because I guess they haven't made it viable for the developer. The developer is going to look at what the cost is. And if all this development's happening at the same time, they're going to look like, can we even get the materials? If we're going to have a building boom, can we even get the materials?
Yeah, and does it lower prices and therefore lower our profit motive?
Where are we going to house all the people to build all these homes?
In short-term rentals
that aren't allowed.
That aren't allowed anymore. All right, let's keep going.
Oh, okay. All right, so here's the timeline. So December 2023, which is next month. Policy manual for small scale multi-unit houses to be provided to governments. in the winter, $51 million, which I don't think is a lot of money, will go to municipalities to support housing initiatives. Next June, local governments will update bylaws to accommodate this housing. And then by December next year, so in 1 year, local governments must have the completed interim housing needs report. They're calling them HNRs. And then a year later, they have to update all their OCPs and bylaws.
So that's going to put, so we were talking, they're going to have all that extra time because they're not going to be in hearings for upzoning and so forth. So they'll be able to put that effort into their updating their OCPs and zoning bylaws and so forth.
Yeah, so development's going to be stalled a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
well,
I guess we'll see.
Clarity, consistency, clear rules, those are all helpful in moving any kind of business forward. And when there's change, people wait to see how it rolls out. But we'll see how this all comes about. Overall, it's probably positive, but it remains to be seen, and will take some time to roll out.
Yeah, and I'm telling clients who are bigger lots right now, just hold off on selling. So anyway, okay, next, I think we're done.
I hope so.
Finished with this. Okay, so tell me, well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tell you about my needs and wants. I still have somebody looking for a house with a suite in Metchosin, please. I also have somebody looking for a rancher in Metchosin, if anybody's interested in selling. And I have a client looking for an updated house in Gordon Head with a suite. I would say like year 2000 and later, looking up to around 1.5. And I have a new listing coming up next week, and it's a beautiful house. It's on Tattersall. It's going to be about 1150. It's main level entry, 3 bedrooms up, and then it has a beautiful 1-bedroom full height basement suite, and has a separate entrance down below. So you actually don't even cross paths with your tenant. So that's coming up on Wednesday.
Sounds like good value.
Yeah.
So no listings coming up so far on my horizon imminently, but still working with those buyers looking for a home in the Fairfield Oak Bay area up to 2.2, under 2 without having to go subject to sale. Essentially a family home, nice yard, something that the kids can go play in the backyard and have a nice good access to. I've got a couple of people looking for townhouses. Got folks looking for investment properties. Bit of a mix, but that's the majority of what's really active right now. There's a lot of people kind of just on the back burner waiting to see. So we'll see.
I saw a nice house listed in Esquimalt with a suite. It had a little outbuilding and a shop. I have you checked that one out? It's on.
I will look.
I'll send it to you. But
thank you.
Yeah. And how's your year looking for next year?
I'm not too sure. I don't really, Josh and I have been working on building our team and focused on that. In terms of what's lined up for the spring, it tends to just, for me, it tends to just sort of come as it comes. I know that, there's always conversations happening, and it just kind of rolls into more business. But I don't have like a bunch of properties lined up to come this spring that I'm aware of.
I'm feeling optimistic about optimistic about next year.
I think it really depends on what happens with interest rates. I'm holding judgment on that. Okay,
so this time of year reminds me of when I was looking at the market in late 2008. And I was thinking that with the interest rates coming up, there's going to be a squeeze from the upper level, and people who are getting in can jump up another level without paying too much. And then when the market rebounds, they're going to end up further ahead. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. All
So
right.
we're going to see that middle market still remain hot. People are going to come in. I think housing is going to become more affordable at the lower level. We're going to see a shift down, and then people who have the money and the equity are going to jump up to the next level.
It is. I agree with you in the sense that I think that it's going to be a cash is king kind of thing in the next little while. People who actually can afford to buy in the higher interest rates environments and be able to leverage what they've currently got. And because there will be another, as there always is, another meteoric rise as we go in these cycles. So now's the time to watch that cycle and look at what you can do. And the spring could be a good time to watch for that.
If only I'd gotten into real estate with this much knowledge. It took me 17 years to reach this state of imperfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you guys. We would love your input and feedback, please. If you like our program, please like this show. We are also on YouTube. You can subscribe to us and follow us there. And don't forget to comment. We love to hear what you have to say. And please share with your friends if this is a topic that may be of interest to them. Please share it with your friends, and we'd love to hear they have to say as well. And whether or not even these topics are useful, sometimes it feels like we're speaking into a black hole, right?
We have great conversations, Jane, you and I. We hope that it's of use to other folks. If you would prefer a different format, if you prefer to see something different, if you have criticism, comments, advice, kudos, all that stuff, just, speak up. We want to hear it.
Yeah. And we are on every Thursday morning at 9:30. So don't forget to tune in. We're going to get some more speakers in that'll be really exciting. In the meantime, Andrew, how do people get in touch with you?
I like how you lined that up. Thanks so much. Yeah, reach out. It's really exciting. info@andrewplank.com. Call me 250-360-6106. Check out the Instagram, Plank Andrew, and the website, andrewplank.com.
Yes, and you can reach me if you so desire. My name is Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group. You can reach me at 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. My website's briarhillgroup.com. Oh my God. And you can watch these shows and more at victoriarealestateshow.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram to see what it's like to live in Victoria at realtyteacher_remax_Victoria.
A reality
Take care.
TV show, Jane's very own.
What?
Your very own reality TV show.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, I'll see you next week. As always, it's a pleasure chatting with you, my good friend.
Thank you, Jane. We will see you next week. Okay.
Bye.